Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we ran Intel. I was drawing a blank. I'm sitting here scrolling over to it and I'm like, name, what is the name? We ran some Intel and we actually did a boss mission for the seasonal stuff. And this time we're not going to be lucky enough to get another boss mission, but we can definitely run more Intel. I'm actually going to sell quick to Ragna, get those out of my inventory, offload the psalm codes. Take a meme virus, why not? We're making good progress on this. We just need one more mission. We get another... Yeah, this is going to be another Fear on hit set of armor. I don't know. Probably just go to the morality armor. It's not that worthwhile in my eyes. The endurance, I think it looks like it's just going to be like all HP. Which, I mean, an HP dump isn't bad. Comparatively... Actually, yeah, comparatively, that's just straight up a better option. We do lose loot quantity. But... it is... like... the knockback on critical hit and heat vulnerability is nice, but if it's just like, hey, health, I can't really say no. I am obligated to kind of roll with that. Oh, damn, that's a lot of hazards. Boy. Okay, physical resist, don't care. God, like some of those are tarot card boosts. This is a kick in the nuts. Okay, warp damage, that's gonna be annoying. Alpha Legion, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. We'll try to figure this out. What did that give? Okay, undamaged enemies gain HP. It's annoying, but we can work with it. Oh, heat resist. Oh, hell no. 68% heat resist? No. Oh my god, these are all gross. Additional champion. Acceptable. Oof, god. Those stats though. That is painful. As long as I can body these snipers though, I don't care. They are the threat. Anything else is negligible. But I have a question for you guys. Because I saw this earlier and it kind of slipped my mind because I was kind of ranting about it to a friend of mine, and then I saw it again and was like, oh, I'm asking you guys, we're asking everybody. Do you think graphics have finally hit the wall? I've argued about this for a while, that we are experiencing diminishing returns graphically in games. That this ever-increasing push has to hit a point of just diminishing returns, and I think it's now. There were pictures of the Last of Us Part 2 remaster. Yes, a game that is 3 years old is getting a remaster. Why? Money. You can literally insert the Mr. Krabs saying money bit for that. That's all it is. There is no justification for remastering a 3-year-old game. But it's getting remastered. And people were comparing, it's a scene of Ellie in the hospital, like the end of The Last of Us Part 1. And it's the remaster versus the old version. The difference is it is slightly darker in the new version, in the remaster. And there was talk where some of the Naughty Dog reps are like, oh, it's being done to train new staff. Which, first off, my question is, what does this train new staff in? Genuinely, what does it train them in? God, these snipers, I'm out here fighting for my life. But what does it train them in? Is it engine? Because if I wanted to train someone in a proprietary engine or in certain practices that I think my team needs to know, ugh, that hurt, I would not just say tweak graphics. Now, there is some roguelike mode being added and some cut content, but it's I've heard it's like 2 levels or something. It is, in my eyes, not enough to say this is justified. And so we are at this weird point with this. Dear God, I'm just getting flattened. Yeah, this is going to be a all 3 lives kind of deal. I knew it was going to be rough, but not this rough. But yeah, I think we've hit the wall. And it's absurd to remaster a game that is 3 years old. It does not need a remaster.
Loading.
Whew, that was rough. But it just, I can't stand it. I can't stand this remastering of games that do not need remasters. This mentality, this isn't training. The only thing I can see as training is the roguelike mode. That I can see as genuinely you are teaching people what your engine can do and how to do things within it. But short of that, none of this is... Yeah, I figured this was going to be a fail. That's fine. It was Alpha Legion. Those fights are always kind of BS. And when it comes to Naughty Dog, I've made my opinion very clear on Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann in general. How I feel. I'll keep saying it, I think the man's a hack. I think his writing capabilities are terrible. Prime example is Last of Us Part 2. The whole thing of like, oh, going for revenge is bad, while completely ignoring that Ellie sparing Abby is stupid. It invalidates every person she killed along the way, and the fact that the game forces the player to kill. It isn't something like I'm trying to think of the name of the game. Made by Arcane. The stealth one. You know what it is. I'm just drawing a blank because I'm dumb.
Take it like a man, God.
Oh my god, now this is bothering me because I know the game. I played it. I beat the first one. Regardless, it's their stealth game. They had the DLC, like Death of the Outsider. Had all the Plague Rats. But yeah, it's not like that. It's not an Arcane game where it's very free form and you can kind of do what you want. It is this situation where you're railroaded into situations and then you're told you're a bad person for doing what the game forced you to do. And it invalidates all the kills, because none of those people needed to die if Ellie was just going to give up. I can't stand it. It was such a foolish decision to remaster a game that's 3 years old. And the sad part is people, if the internet is to be believed, a bunch of people are going, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy this for the lost chapters and all this stuff. And I'm going, you're really buying like a couple levels of cut content? And I've yet to check, but there's stuff saying, oh, if you own the normal version of The Last of Us, you can pay $10 and you get the remaster. Or you can pay like, I think the current thing is like $70 for the full game as a remaster when it comes out. And people are going, oh, I'm just gonna buy the game, dirt cheap and get it. I'll tell you here now, I bet they're going to spike the price of digital copies. Because that's what happened with Anthem. When Anthem was talking about fixing up the game, the price of the game went from like $5 to I think almost full price again. And then when they said, oh yeah, we're actually not going to do it, EA has pulled the plug, the price went right back down to like $5. And that shows you the fickle nature of it, and it's all about the money. They'll let it drop if they're not going to support it, but the second support comes in, those low prices are gone. And in general, I'm tired of games that are just tech demos, like Order 1886. The idea was so cool. Hey, the Knights of the Round Table are alive, and they're actually an order of monster hunters operating in Britain, fighting monsters. That is such a cool concept. And all the weapons, I remember one of them, it was like a Lewis gun that fired like magnesium powder, or rounds that would turn to magnesium powder, and then you could fire like a flare as an igniter. And that would ignite that area that you had filled with the powder. And it was such a cool idea. I loved it. And then the game came out and they're going, oh yeah, it's like a couple hours and it's more or less just to show graphics. And that's it. You're fighting like a couple werewolves and it's heavily scripted. And it was just such a disappointment because they had such a cool idea. But we see that more and more with games just being, hey, look how fancy we can make something. I will always stand on this hill, and I will die on it if need be. The best games have unique art direction because they stand out. Destroy All Humans? Interesting art direction. also happened to be a very fun game with good writing. Time Splitters 2 and 3, I don't count 1, 1 was kind of butt cheeks, but it got us to where we were. Time Splitters 2 and 3, very unique art style, and that made the game stand out. I play it to this day. Time Splitters 2 specifically, I can't find a copy of Future Perfect to save my life. Specifically a copy for the GameCube or for the original Xbox. Because I would play those. I love Time Splitters. That is a game that I stand by as a favorite of mine. And realistically, those games have aged very well. Yes, mechanically they're not the most sound and the map editors are very simplistic, but for games that came out over 15 years ago, they're still fun. They don't look super dated. It's not like when you fire up like Max Payne. When you see Max Payne's face is just a picture put on a flat, like, polygonal face on a model, yeah, that looks rough. That didn't age well. But games with unique art styles age far better. This ultra-realistic crap, every game pulls that. Oh, look at our fancy shadows, look at how many pores you can see on this guy's face. It's all irrelevant. The best games said, hey, graphics don't have to be perfect, we just need a game that's fun. Look at Souls games. Souls games are actually very, compared to other games of their times, like when they released, they are graphically a bit inferior. But people love Souls games because instead of focusing on making them look super pretty, they said, hey, we're gonna have a bit of an art style to this, make it our own, and we're gonna focus on the game. And everyone remembers the game. Yeah, it's disappointing, I think, is the biggest thing. And I think a big part of it is it's pushed by more of the corporate side than the developers. I think some developers, some leads, they failed upwards. That happens in movies. Christopher Lee, in an interview before he passed, had said there are people who produce terrible movie after terrible movie after terrible movie, but they still are around. That is failing upwards. It happens in movies. Of course it's going to happen in games. Why wouldn't it? And sadly, failing upwards in games has more of an effect on other games than failing upwards in film. Almost there. Of course, I hit the wrong button. Okay, that's dicey. Acceptable. Okay, attack speed. All doable. But yeah, I feel like it's this combination of reliance on graphical fidelity becoming more and more of a crutch for actual game the upward failure of certain individuals within the industry. To a degree, I even blame people like Rocket, if you remember him, Dean Rocket Hall, the guy who made DayZ. Because I remember years ago his super, I hated it, pretentious BS of, like, talking about how, like, fun isn't a thing. And then I think Druckmann used that same shtick. And I hate that. I hate that idea where it's like, oh, games don't have to be fun. No, they do. I'm playing games to entertain myself. I'm not playing games for anything else. Or I saw people talk about how bad writing has become. It was using Modern Warfare, the original. I think it was Modern Warfare or Modern Warfare 2, the original, like the writing. And it was Price saying, like, that history consists of lies, and it's whoever wins writes history, and that Shepard is about to pull off the greatest lie ever if we don't stop him, that a sane mind doesn't wake up in the morning knowing that they can die, and all this stuff. And it was really good. Or look at the Gravemind in Halo 2, I believe? Halo 2... I'm trying to think. Halo 2 or Halo 3? I think it might have been Halo 3. Because it's him the Gravemind talking to Master Chief and talking to the Arbiter. And I can't remember the dialogue because it's been a while, but I remember the writing was good. Granted, I also love the Gravemind. The voice work for him and whoever wrote his lines made them so menacing. But it was amazing writing. And now we don't get that. We don't get anything near as... I don't want to say involved, but it was dark, but it was accurate, and it fit. It wasn't some Marvel, he's standing right behind me, isn't he? Or, well, that just happened kind of writing. It delved a little bit into philosophical stuff, but it was just good. It was characters that were memorable, scenes that, while I can't remember the words off the top of my head, I can picture everything. The tentacle coming up holding, I think it was Guilty Spark, or it was one of the little stupid sentinels, but it was him talking about how they need to fire the ring, and then it was one of the prophets. It was like, no, we can't, the great journey isn't ready, and the Sentinel's just like, I assure you this is very functional and is well overdue for firing this Halo ring. And it was just, I remember everything, the prophet being kind of put away by the Gravemind and he starts screaming, and it's just little bits like that where you're like, oh, this is well written. This is well composed. Even the original, because you can see a far higher graphical quality version in the Master Chief Collection, which is an instance where a remaster is good. I like seeing, Halo 1 and Halo 2 get remastered because they're over 20 years old. A remaster fits. You can do more graphically. You can make the library mission feel more menacing. You can't make a game that's 3 years old look better. Additional shadows or turning up like contrast doesn't make the game magically superior and worth even $10. Yes, I understand it. Like I said, it comes with the extra cut content and the roguelike mode. But it's not sold as like, hey, you're getting that. This is a graphical remaster. If it was just the roguelike mode, I wouldn't have a problem. And there is stuff saying like, oh, don't worry, The Last of Us Part 3 is still being worked on, and I see that and I'm just kind of groaning. I'm like, please, just make it end. It is sad when a zombie survival game, a genre I love, it's kind of like Horizon, where they managed to take dinosaurs and robots, two things I love, and make the most bland and boring thing imaginable, and they did that with The Last of Us. Hey, we took zombies and they're really cool, and everything else about this game sucks. How? How do you do this? What arcane knowledge do you possess to make all things good in life boring? That is like a supervillain power. That's like Mr. Negative, but for video games. It makes me sad. And I would hope that this would kind of be the wake-up call for the industry to go, hey, we can't go much further with graphics. We need to actually do something. But I don't think they will. They are going to keep doing it. All they're going to do is up the resolution even further. Oh, 4K is the new thing? Well, now we need to do 8K. Even though, as we've seen, these games are struggling to hold 60 FPS in some cases. Look at Remnant. I love Remnant 2. I think it's a great game. It is all around an evolution on the formula that Remnant 1 had. But it has a performance mode, and it has a graphics mode. To me, that says there's a problem when you cannot have your game hold a stable frame rate, so you have to create a version where you're like, hey, so you can have balanced performance or graphics. What do you care about? I would rather not have my game look fancy but stutter terribly. But they make it an option, and that just floors me. Because there's no reason it should be this bad. But they carry on. I think the big thing is going to be, one, and I want to do a video dedicated to me talking about this later, but if we can get like time splitters, if Embracer can actually think about things for a moment and not close Revived Free Radical and let a new Time Splitters come out and it has its same art identity. If they change the art to make it like just super realistic, that game is going to be terrible. But if they keep that kind of slightly, I mean, it's fairly cartoony, but cartoonish style that isn't Fortnite level, I think they can make a good game. And if it does well enough, it might kind of remind everyone you don't need super high-res graphics, you just need a game that is fun. Because that's all we need at this point, is something fun. Too much stuff is dedicated to sharing a message or just getting bogged down in minutia. Well, that was a bummer. That's kind of a bad grenade launcher. What's our relic looking like, or purity seal? HP regen increased by % of missing HP. I'll take it. Makes us heal up faster. I think that's valuable. Oh yeah, we have to finish that one too. Right. We'll swap them and start working on this one. The demon thing, whatever it is, not important. For the most part, we know what it's got, and that's pretty good. I don't even know if I can get enraged, so that's pointless. But that is all for now. If you enjoy this episode, make sure to hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.